All right. So good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thank you for taking the time to join my session today. I appreciate that the event is quite busy, a lot of sessions going on. So again, thank you for taking the time to join me today. Just to introduce quickly myself, my name is Kyriakos Fistos. I work as a data scientist at SAS. I assume that most of you know SAS is recognized as a leader in AI and analytics space, and we also have industry-specific solutions. And because my role involves close collaboration with large organizations all over the world, I thought today it's a good opportunity to talk with you about some applications of GenAI, to discuss about the approach that we have taken at SAS regarding AI, and also to share some of the market drivers, some of the challenges that the market faces, again, around GenAI, which is a quite hot topic at the moment. So I just have here the agenda. We will start with sharing with you some of the market potential, some of the challenges that exist around GenAI, because there are not only benefits, there are also some challenges that we have to address. Then, as I said, I will discuss about the SAS approach to GenAI. We will see some real-world applications, some examples of how big organizations are leveraging large language models and generally GenAI. And at the end, I will just summarize what we discussed. If we have some time, I may take 1 or 2 questions as well. So, starting with the market potential and challenges. I think we all know the huge impact that AI has the last few years in all the industries. However, it is also predicted that GenAI can increase this impact up to 4.5 trillion. So it can actually increase the impact of all AI up to 40%, which is a quite significant percentage if we consider it. At SAS, we also did a survey. We partnered with Coleman Park Survey, and we actually try to identify how organizations are using GenAI at the moment. So we surveyed, I think, 1,600 organizations globally. I think around 150 were from the UK. And we try to identify which are the countries that are leading the adoption of GenAI. And we can be quite proud here in the UK, as we are second behind China in terms of how mature are the organizations regarding GenAI, what are the applications that they are using, etc. One other interesting question was, to what extent are you using GenAI at the moment? And if, as we can see from this graph, around 6 out of 10 organizations are using GenAI to some extent. There are only 3% that they are not planning to use GenAI at all. Some others are in the planning phase. So just by looking at this graph, we can, if we go back, that I was talking about the economic impact that GenAI can bring to the market, I think we can understand those results. Here I have some other questions that we also ask the leaders of those companies. So, for example, which are the departments that are currently using GenAI or are planning to use, or they don't have plans at all. So we see that marketing, sales, IT department are leading this chart. However, most of the departments that we see in every organization, they want to explore the possibilities. They want to explore what's possible with GenAI. One other interesting question was, which are the benefits of GenAI? So, okay, you are using it to some extent. However, what are the benefits? What actually GenAI has benefited the organization? So we see that the customer satisfaction, retention, it was on the top of the chart with the improved employee experience. Some other kind of sales-related operations, we see that got a kind of a high percentage, efficiency, all of those things that I think we can recognize, all of us. However, one other interesting fact was that a high percentage of those leaders are kind of dissatisfied of the AI or GenAI adoption. So we were quite keen to understand what are the barriers, what are the problems that they face. So one of them was regarding the accuracy, especially if we talk about the large language models, the GenAI. Obviously, there is a knowledge cut-off day in every large language model, the hallucinations that often produce. So sometimes it couldn't be, the result, the output wasn't so reliable. Another main issue was the privacy and security. We all know those type of concerns that LLMs bring. And finally, the governance, how we can govern, how we can control the cost that is associated with the adoption of GenAI. So all of those are some things that we need to consider. And based on the question that we ask, what are your concerns regarding the use of GenAI, we see that most of those topics that I mentioned before, we can see these topics from these results as well. So, to talk a little bit about the SaaS approach to GenAI, which is mainly around how we can be a trusted partner to organization for the adoption of AI. And of course, we, as I said earlier on, we support organizations all over the world. Our goal is to increase productivity, to get results that you can trust, and of course, to innovate faster, because obviously the time element is quite also important, especially for big organizations. So the SaaS generative AI approach consists of three main pillars. The first one is around the SaaS Via. SaaS Via is the latest data and AI platform that SaaS has developed, and we will talk how we can govern or orchestrate LLMs through our platform. The second part is the Via Copilots. So we have tried quite hard the last few months and the last few years to build copilots that help the users perform some specific tasks. And the last bit is the synthetic data generation. One topic that becomes popular, I will say, especially now with all of these new GenAI techniques. We have seen organizations trying to generate synthetic data, and actually I have also one example later on to share with you. But let's start with the SaaS Via platform. So within SaaS Via, we are able to perform some kind of management of prompts. So all of the prompts can be imported into our platform. We can control and govern, even monitor how those prompts are differentiating, how they change as we have more time the large language model deployed. So we are able to perform prompt management in SaaS Via. Another quite interesting fact is that obviously the large language models are based on the data, are based on the input that we are giving. So it is quite important to ensure the data quality, to ensure high data quality for those LLMs. And through SaaS Via, we are able to pre-process the data, pre-filter the data in order to make sure that the quality that we are feeding LLM is quite high in terms of the data. Another part is the governance. I mentioned before that this is one of the main concerns that we have around LLMs. So we are able to establish mechanisms in order to govern, in order to address those type of issues. We can manage the feedback that we get from the users, so to make sure that we have an acceptable, let's say, performance of the LLM. Another quite interesting thing is that, okay, GenAI help us to increase productivity, help us to perform some specific tasks. However, we need also to have a proper decisioning system in order to take the appropriate and the successful business decisions. So we need a decisioning system, a decision engine to handle that. And SAS Viya provides that. We are able to combine the output of LLMs with a decisioning system, with a rule-based system, in order to take the appropriate decision for our business. Going now to the Viya co-pilots. Obviously, there are a lot of co-pilots around. Every kind of tech company wants to create one in order to accelerate some of the tasks. Here at SAS, we try to generate co-pilot for every task in the analytics lifecycle. So from managing the data, developing models, and deploying also those models, deploying also those insights. So I will focus mainly on the second part around the developing model. So recently, we developed a co-pilot that helps the users of this platform to code in SAS. So I have here a quick demonstration that shows that we have a script here. It's Visual Studio Code. However, it is SAS code here written. I can select the code that I want, press explain, and you see on the left-hand side there, it tries to explain the code that I has written. I think that's quite useful, especially when we have to deal with legacy code, with code that someone else has written. It's quite important to, just highlight the code that we want, press the button explain, and then see what this code actually does. Apart from explaining the code, we also have the option to add comments. So you see here that initially the code didn't have any comments, but we added comments. And we're also able, even better, to generate code. So we can write, for example, in plain English, what we're going to do. Let's say we're going to build a logistic regression model. Press the generate button, and then the co-pilot will actually try to use the appropriate code in order to perform, in order to create a logistic regression model. So again, quite useful, accelerates the productivity. I'm pretty sure some of you that you are coders, I'm pretty sure that you have spent a lot of time to debug code, to try to change some things. This co-pilot makes that process much easier. And the last part is about the synthetic data generation. So I think we can all agree that there is no good AI or GenAI without having good data. So we must ensure that we have a high quality of data. I mentioned that before as well. Because sometimes real-world data is not good enough. We have a lot of missing values sometimes, or we don't have the necessary variables to perform the analysis that we want. Some other times we have some sensitive information that we want to keep secret, that we want to keep private. And some other times it's just not enough. We just not have enough data in order to build a model, in order to ensure that this model is performing as expected. So what we do about that? SAS has developed a product which is called SAS Data Maker that actually help us to build synthetic data very, very easily without actually the need to write a single piece of code. I have a quick demonstration of how this works. You actually need to select the data set that you want. You can go to your files, select the data that you want to synthesize. Then there are some parameters, some configurations based on the algorithm that you want to use for this process. Here we use the smote technique, but you can also use GANs for synthesizing the data. And by clicking the button generate the data, you see that we have created a synthetic data set, which the goal is to look very similar with the original data set. And in order to identify how similar it looks, there is a quality score, as you see on top, which is 9.86. I think the maximum is 10. And you also have access to the distributions of both the original and the synthetic data set. You can see the correlation matrix, etc. And once you are happy with the process, you can download all the results of the generated data set as well as the assessments. So again, that's something quite useful. Now, I would like to talk a little bit about some real-world applications. So, of course, I talk a little bit about the market, about some of the observations that we had from the survey. I talk about our approach as a company to GenAI. However, I would like also to share with you some of the examples how we have helped organizations to implement successfully GenAI. So, I will start with one example. Recently, we involved with a large bank, which unfortunately I cannot disclose a name yet, but they asked us to help them with the complaints management system that they had. As a large organization, they had a lot of different channels from where the complaints were coming from. They had, emails coming, telephone calls, text, all of this type of stuff. So what they are actually looking to do was to summarize the conversations that may come from different channels. So summarize the conversations that you have with each customer that get in touch with the company. Then generate a reply, and then have also the human into the loop. So they also wanted to have humans to validate this response, and then, of course, send it out to the customer. When we initially sat with them and we started discussing of how this can work, obviously they said we're going to use LLMs for that, which makes sense, and we agree with this approach. However, it's important to understand that LLMs alone don't solve business problem. It's of course one great feature that helps us to perform some tasks, but alone doesn't solve business problems. And I will give you an example of how we finally managed to tackle this problem. So initially we create a list with all the complaints that we have for each customer. Then we actually pass this list into an LLM, which create a summary of which are the main areas of complaints for each customer. Then this summary was passed into our platform, into SaaSvia, and within SaaSvia we tried to explain which are the main issues that the customer is facing. We also added information for each customer. So, for example, what's the credit score for this customer, or what are the products that it has. So we connected with different databases in order to pull this type of data. And by using our decisioning engine, we try to find what are the next best action for each of those customers. Then we pass this information into the LLM, which generated a reply, and at the end we also have operators checking and validating those replies, and then obviously was sent to the customer. What I want to you notice here is that, based on what I said before, that LLMs don't solve problems alone, here two were the main things that LLMs help. LLM helped on generating the summary and also generating the reply. All the other components were handled by SaaSvia, by our platform. And that was my point before, that we need to make sure that we are able to integrate LLMs with other platforms as well, with decisioning platforms, with databases, in order to have the business outcome that we want. Just by using LLM, we are not going to get to this result. And just to summarize, the results that we had were quite impressive. So we managed to increase to 80% the volume of the complaints that handle it. We managed to decrease 30 to 40% in average the response time. And of course, we managed to reduce also the cost of the whole process of managing all of those complaints up to 15%, which are quite impressive results. One other use case that I would like to share with you, another example, is around the synthetic data generation that I mentioned before. So we work with a financial services institution here in the UK, where we tried to create a synthetic data set by using GANs. Generative adversarial networks is one technique that is quite common on generating synthetic data. So we use this technique in order to create a synthetic data set and try to predict how likely is a customer to default on a personal loan. We just wanted to perform an experiment and see how better, if better, the synthetic data set, the model that has used a synthetic data set performs compared to the model, the existing model that they have, which is based on real data. So what we actually did was that we took the original data set. As you can imagine, it had a lot of information about the amount, the loan amount of each customer, the credit score, the employment status, the employment history. And then with this algorithm, with this technique, with GANs, we tried to replicate this data set. The similarity score that we achieved was quite high, so it was a good sign that we can move now to the modeling phase. And as a next step, we try a lot of different machine learning techniques. We try random forest, gradient boosting models, in order to see which of those techniques is the most performant. And at the end, we found out that by using gradient boosting models and by using the synthetic data set, we managed to have around 30% increase in the accuracy of the model, again, compared to the model that we had with the original data. Why we achieved this result? Because with the synthetic data and generally with the process that we follow there, we didn't try only to replicate the data set, we tried also to create a more balanced data set. Because to give you an example, in the original data set, the customers that default on a personal loan, I think were around 6-7%. However, when we create the synthetic data set, we try to balance a little bit this number, compared to the non-default customers. And when you have a more balanced data set, it's very likely also to improve the accuracy of your model. So that's why I think one of the reasons that we achieved this improvement in the accuracy was also the balancing of the data set. But generally, I think it was quite impressive just by using synthetic data to achieve this improvement. Just to sum up, I just wanted to summarize a little bit, because I talk quite a lot about how SaaSVia can help with the large language models and with generative AI. I just wanted to mention some of the main topics, some of my main ideas. First of all, we are able to accelerate innovation by using the right platform for the governance, for the orchestration of the LLMs. We are able to protect the data that we feed into LLMs. We have trustworthy results because apart from building an LLM application or building a GenAI application, we want to make sure that those results that we get are trustworthy. And within SaaS Via, there are a lot of different features that we can leverage in order to make sure that the performance is acceptable and also to monitor those results. There is enhanced governance. I mentioned about how we can govern those LLMs and the last thing, which I think is really important, is around the decisioning. So how we can get the output from those LLMs, feed it into a decisioning system, and ultimately end up with the business decision that we want to take. Are there any questions? I think we have time for one, maybe. Yes, please. Well, just a second. I think they are bringing you a mic to be able to hear you. It's over there.
Does this company offer graduate schemes or internships?
Well, yeah, to be honest, I joined SaaS as a graduate. It was a long time ago, but I joined as a graduate after finishing my studies at Cardiff University. So, yeah, we have some graduate schemes. I suggest, if you want, you can meet us at the stand or even check our website where we publish those schemes. So, yeah. All right, given the time, I'm happy. I will be around all day and tomorrow as well to the SaaS booth. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to take it. Just to finish with a special gift. So I'm pretty sure that getting into this theater, you probably scan your badges. So we will randomly select one of you in order to get one book that the head of data science at SaaS, Ian Brown, has written, is around marketing data science. So yeah, just want to let you know one of you will get this special gift. So with that, I would like to thank you for coming to my session. As I said, we are in the 554 booth. So yeah, if you want to discuss any of those things more, I will be happy to meet you there. Thank you.